Conservative new media viewers, JLin fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFE Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and we're here to discuss Brooklyn's 115-107 defeat tonight to the Orlando Magic in Orlando, Florida. Brooklyn falls to 19-60 on the season. Orlando improves to 28-51 on the year. What happened in this game was Brooklyn was very flat in the third quarter. They were outscored by 15 points in that quarter, and that was really the difference in this game. And it reminded you of earlier in the season when Brooklyn would struggle in the third period, and it just Orlando came out like this was their championship in the third quarter. They played like they didn't want to lose to the Nets, and this was really important for them, and they had the energy, and Brooklyn didn't. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's okay that Brooklyn was flat in the third quarter, but Orlando just played like this was everything, like their entire season rested on this game in the third quarter. So it happens. You will get games like that where one team's really pumped up and the other is not as pumped up. And basically, the third quarter, Orlando came out super hot. Jody Meeks started hitting threes, and before Brooklyn could kind of fix things, it was too late. And that's pretty much what happened, because this game was tied at 50 points apiece at halftime. And the third quarter just ruined everything for Brooklyn. Even though Brooklyn outscored Orlando in the fourth quarter, it was kind of too late then. Okay. Statistics also from the bench was good tonight and the starters weren't good. So this is more on the starters. Every starter tonight for Brooklyn had a double-figure negative plus-minus. The best of them being Jeremy and Brook Lopez, who were both minus 11. So the bench did what they had to do. The starters didn't do what they needed to do, which in this case was really play defense. And that's what it was. That's basically how this game got away from them and why they lost. Okay. The statistics, a couple of bench guys played well. Spencer Dinwiddie, 11 points, 3 assists. Isaiah Whitehead, 10 points, 3 assists. Justin Hamilton, 10 points, 3 rebounds. Like I said, I really like the way Justin Hamilton's playing, even though right now he's like, the 11th or 12th man on the roster. But he could still play, and I definitely think there's definitely room for him on the roster, in my opinion, going into next year. Archie Goodwin to 6 points, 5 rebounds. He's still playing well. Quincy AC, 2 points, 5 rebounds. I should also mention that Joe Harris and Sean Kilpatrick were out for this game. And Trevor Booker and KJ McDaniels did not play in this game, even though both were healthy. So that's kind of, some of that is the evaluation mode. They want to look at Archie Goodwin. They're looking more at Justin Hamilton. And so some guys get to play and some guys don't get to play, even if maybe it's not giving the team the absolute maximum chance to win. You have to do this, particularly the Nets, because they brought in so many guys. And Coach went with 10 players tonight rather than 11. So that also took somebody else out of the rotation. Moving on to the starters. Randy Foye, 0 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Randy only played 15 minutes. I doubt Randy Foye will be the starting shooting guard next season. Nothing against Randy. I think you can do better than that, as Randy's kind of, I think he's like 34 years old. He's getting up there. And, but he is he's a good teammate and a good leader, good leadership for the team from everything I've heard. So I don't want to just put him down. I think he can help the team, but just maybe not in the starting lineup. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Brook Lopez, 10 points, 5 rebounds. Brook had a tough night tonight, just in terms of his all-around game, particularly shooting the ball. Karis LeVert, nice game, 20 points, 4 rebounds, so he had a really nice outing. JLin was the best player for the Nets tonight. 32 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Jeremy played 31 minutes, shot 11 of 20 from the field, including 5 of 9 from three-point range, 5 of 6 on his free throws, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 turnovers, 5 personal fouls, plus minus minus 11. And Jeremy's shooting slump is over. His last couple games, he's shooting the three-pointer very well, so that's done. He's also shooting well from the field overall, and this was his season high in points. So this is the most points he's ever scored as a Brooklyn Nets player. Also, there's something I mentioned on Twitter, and I'll bring it up now here. And I talked about how Jeremy, I actually mentioned this in the last video, but I mentioned it towards the end, and I didn't really explain it, so I'll mention it more right now. Jeremy is changing his playing style right now. It's kind of going from more of a where he drives to the basket a lot and he gets a lot of free throw attempts to where now it's becoming more jump shooting, particularly more three-point shots. And I think this is good for him in the long term because it means he will take less punishment. His body will take less hits. And that's a good thing. And you can see this in 2 particular statistics. They are three-point attempt rate. That is what percentage of your shots are three-point attempts. That's way up for Jeremy. It's the highest he's ever had in his career. The other statistic is free throw attempt rate. That is, how many free throw attempts do you get as a percentage of how many field goal attempts you take? And that is down for Jeremy. So fewer free throw attempts, more three-point attempts. That is more playing on the perimeter, more jump shooting, and fewer drives. And what I want to say about this is Jeremy has to adjust to this. This is part of the reason why it's important for him to shoot better from the three-point line and why he's worked on his shooting form as well, which also will allow him to play better for longer and to play longer in general. It's going to take time to switch styles. If you're used to playing one way, it takes time to learn how to play a different way. And so I think that given that he's changing considerably this season, he's doing a really good job. Like his PER coming into tonight was 18.2, which is pretty good. That's the second best of his career behind Linsanity. Linsanity was heavily drive to the basket and very few three-pointers. So again, it's a different style. I did an analysis of kind of Jeremy's usage rate versus his PER. To make a long story short, Jeremy's usage rate, how many plays are run for him, is down a little bit as compared with Linsanity. So if you map out kind of the ratio of that, if Jeremy is performing at absolute peak level right now, given his usage rate, his PER would be around 18.7. Well, he came in tonight with 18.2. That's pretty close. And so you're only talking about a very small difference between kind of an optimal level there, and he's playing a totally different style. So I think that given all of the changes that he's making, including changing teams and changing teammates and playing style and offensive system, he's doing really, really well. And I think that in the time to come, as he adapts more and more to the perimeter-oriented approach, it's going to get even better. So I think that there's more to come for Jeremy, and it will improve more and more. He will get better at shooting perimeter shots. He will continue to improve on his perimeter moves. He'll get more comfortable with his teammates. He'll get more comfortable with this offensive system. And I will say this on the offensive moves. Jeremy had 2 awesome crossover moves tonight. One which resulted in a made jump shot and one which did not. I think it was a miss or maybe passed the ball afterwards. But he's definitely getting better with his dribbling and those one-on-one moves. So tonight he looked fantastic on offense. And I will tell you this. I said that Orlando played like they were playing for their championship of the season. Elfrid Peyton, who is the starting point guard of the Magic and who is a good player, and he had a very good game tonight, he, in my opinion, was getting annoyed with Jeremy. I think Elfrid is one of the players, or Elfrid seemed to have the opinion tonight, and I've seen this with him before when he plays Jeremy, that he doesn't want to get beaten by JLin. And there are some guys in the league like, oh, this guy isn't anything. I know I can be better than him. And that's the way Elfrid seems to approach Jeremy, or at least the way he approached him tonight and the way he approached him in the last game. And so that kind of, it almost gives guys like a false confidence boost, or kind of like a turbo boost in an arcade game. And they play better than what they actually are, because they actually think Jeremy's not that good, or they don't want to get beaten by him, or something like that. But as I said, so Peyton played like he had something to prove, and the Magic played like they had something to prove. And still, Brooklyn hung in there, and they made it a solid game, even though Brook didn't play that well, and the starters overall didn't play that well. So that's what it is. And look, Jeremy's faced this his entire playing career. He's a guy, he's Harvard, he's an Asian guy, he's not really that good. I know I can beat him. So it happens. It's not a big deal. But he still did great. He still had 32 points. And he still did terrific. But like I said, I mean, you never know what motivates people. You never know what's going to motivate a team or motivate a player or whatever. But with Jeremy, he just has to play his game, and that's what he did tonight. And he played really, really well. And he just looks more and more comfortable by the moment. Remember, it was like 4 games ago, we were all freaking out because he was in like a 10-game shooting slump, or particularly from the three-point range. Now, he looks awesome. Everything looks good. Everything looks in sync. His shooting form looks great. His confidence looks great. He's feeling healthy, apparently. And, I mean, everything's working. And part of that is probably because they've used this same starting lineup now for 20 consecutive games, have the Nets. And obviously a big part of that is because Jeremy's healthy. So he's been able to play all those games. And that makes things easier, and you start getting more and more comfortable. Also, down the stretch of this game, when the Nets were trying to catch up, pretty much every play was being run for JLin. And so that again gives you an idea of how much Coach Atkinson trusts Jeremy and believes that Jeremy can be a scorer. And that's obviously that's what happened tonight, and it worked really well. So again, there's no doubts about Coach Atkinson and how he feels about Jeremy. I think it's pretty clear. So that was it. I mean, that's what happened tonight. Great game for Jeremy. Tough loss. The 3-game winning streak is over. The Nets are now 10-11 since March 1st, which is, again, I mean, nobody thought this was going to be the case coming into the month of March. I mean, this season looked like total gloom and doom, and they've really made something out of it. And you have to give credit to them and credit to everybody. But look, the Magic did what they needed to do. They found their motivation, whatever it was, and they played great in the third quarter, and they did what they had to do, and so credit goes to them. And I'm sure part of it was they wanted revenge because they got beat by the Nets just a couple games ago. And but there's no, it's just, there's no bad feelings after this loss. It's just they let the third quarter get away from them, and that's what it was. So that's pretty much what I have to say as an overview for this game, and now I will go through my notes. First note is Archie Goodwin and Justin Hamilton are playing evaluation mode. So, yes, Trevor Booker and KJ McDaniels didn't play, and in the scheme of winning the game, that might have hurt Brooklyn somewhat, but with 4 games left in the season coming into tonight, you must evaluate players to see if you want to keep them around or not. And I think that's being done right now with those 2 players, and with others too, I'm sure, not just Goodwin and Hamilton. But that's what happened. That was a decision that was made tonight by the coach. Coach Atkinson, it was said on the Yes Network broadcast, has recently commented on how well Spencer Dinwiddie has developed in terms of his progress and player development. Look, we've seen that. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie, I believe, was a guy brought up from the D-League. And early on, it was like, oh, okay, here's another D-League guy, and we'll see. Excuse me, we'll see what happens with him. But he has really become a very solid backup to Jeremy, in my opinion. I mean, this guy, he can dish the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over very much. He's a good athlete. He has good size. And I guess Coach Atkinson, in his remarks, said that Spencer's really learned the offense well, and you can see it. Also, Spencer shoots the three-pointer pretty well. So, remember, we came into this season with Jeremy and Gravis Vasquez as his backup. Gravis only lasted a couple games, and then we had no point guard play for a very long time because Jeremy got hurt, and Gravis was hurt and gone, and then Spencer Dinwiddie hadn't been brought up yet, and there was nothing. And that's one of the reasons why the Nets were getting pounded game after game. Now look, I mean, we have to see what happens in the offseason. I'm sure that the Nets are going to try to get as much talent as they can get. And more talent, the better. But Spencer Dinwiddie looks like a pretty steady backup point guard right now. And that's good. And that's really a nice find for the Nets. And Archie Goodwin might be the same thing. I mean, he's definitely has some ability. So you have to have good point guard play, or you're not going to be able to do anything in the NBA, in the current NBA, definitely. So if they're at least comfortable with Dinwiddie as the second point guard, that's big. That will really help going forward as we move into next year. Okay, moving into the second quarter, I also said Orlando also doing some evaluation tonight. So they were playing some of their younger guys too. So obviously they wanted to win this game, but they were trying to work in looking at some of their younger talent also. Okay, then I said that Brooklyn is trying Spencer Dinwiddie and Archie Goodwin at shooting guard. So they were letting those guys kind of play a different position than what they might normally play. Although Spencer certainly has the height to play shooting guard, and I think Goodwin has the scoring ability to play shooting guard. And they were also playing Quincy Acey at power forward rather than at center, where he often plays. So kind of giving guys a different look at different positions. So that's part of the evaluation process also, which is, should he start or should he come off the bench? Should he play point guard or should he play shooting guard? And so forth. Should Isaiah Whitehead be a point guard or should he be a shooting guard? And that's when you have young talent and you bring in new guys, you have to go through all of this. So this will pay off for the Nets down the line. I mean, look, they've already done a lot of this year. I mean, and which is why they've improved so much. But it's part of the process, and some of that was definitely going on tonight. I felt. Okay. Made the note then that Jeremy's shooting slump appears to be over. At that point, he was 7 of his last 11 three-pointers in the last couple of games, including tonight's game. And that would, that would go to 9 of his last 15. So through the end of tonight's game, he has 9 of his last 15 three-point attempts, which is fantastic. And that's great. And slump completely over. I have no idea what happened to Jeremy in the couple games where he struggled. It did look like his legs weren't there. Maybe that was the ankle injury. Maybe the ankle's healthier now, because it didn't look like he had his legs then. But now his legs, the shot's looking very good. And that's definitely a good sign. Okay, I already discussed about the perimeter stuff. Okay, I mentioned that. Sorry, I'm just looking over the notes here as I make the video. Yeah, again, Super Orlando in the third quarter. As I said, for whatever reason, they came out like everything was on the line and they had to win this game for their own personal pride. And they played like it in the third quarter, and the Nets weren't ready for it. So that's basically what happened. Okay. Jeremy had 17 points in the first half, and they said on Yes Network that was the most points by him in any half for this entire season. So that was the best half scoring he's had this entire year. Now in the second half he had 15 points, so that was pretty good, pretty even distribution. The two announcers for tonight's game, who were Ryan Rucco and Donnie Marshall, mentioned in the fourth quarter that Jeremy wasn't getting a lot of respect from the referees. And not only did they say he wasn't getting respect tonight, they said that he hasn't been getting a lot of respect from the referees in general. JLin fans know all about this. I don't want to go on too much of a rant about this. I do think it will improve for Jeremy in the future. It's one of those things where when you're a younger player or you're not a star, referees usually don't give you as much respect as they do for more established players and more established stars. Jeremy's having an excellent year. I think that it's complete this year, and as Jeremy holds up going into next year, I think he'll finally start getting more respect from the referees. I certainly hope he does. And it is frustrating, and it makes you wonder what's going on. But let's just hope it improves as things move forward. And I'm glad that the Yes Network guys pointed out. I don't like to complain about the referees. I really don't. And when I watch any team or any sport. But I thought it was not so great tonight. And the Yes Network guys did also. Now, as I mentioned earlier, down the stretch of this game, Brooklyn was trying to come back, and they were kind of doing the thing where you foul the other team and then you run a quick play when you have the ball. And what they did was they did not have Jeremy bringing up the ball. Usually he would bring up the ball as the point guard, but what they did was they wanted Jeremy to be the scorer. So they'd have Karis LeVert bring the ball up, and then they'd run a play for Jeremy. And so that's what they were doing the last, 2 or 3 minutes of this game. And that's neat. And again, you can see that Coach Atkinson respects Jeremy as a scorer because everything was going at Jeremy down the stretch of this game. Okay. And then finally, my final note of the game was, yes, Nets are 10-11 now since March 1st, which is, obviously that's quite good. And they are now also 3-1 in the month of April, with 3 games remaining in the season and 3 games remaining in this month. Let's talk about the next game coming up. It'll take place 2 days from today on Saturday, April 8th here in the United States. It will be against the Chicago Bulls in Brooklyn, New York, and it will take place at 5 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. I believe you can catch the game on Yes Network in and around New York, or on NBA League Pass, unless you are in the city of New York or the city of Chicago. Chicago is not a great team. They are in the playoffs right now. They are still in the playoff hunt, although they could fall out. They've gotten rid of some talent. They've had some injuries, and they got rid of talent in trades. They've had injuries, like Dwayne Wade, as far as I know, is still out with, I believe, an elbow injury. They haven't been what people thought they were going to be this year. That said, they still have talent on the team, like Rajon Rondo and Jimmy Butler, and it'll be an interesting game. It's certainly, in my opinion, it's a winnable game for the Nets. On the other hand, the Bulls are fighting to stay in the playoffs, so they should be plenty motivated in the game. And it'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't know who'll be favored in the game. Maybe Chicago by a slight amount. But in my opinion, it's definitely a game that Brooklyn can win. So let's hopefully we can try to get back on the winning side of things after the 3-game winning streak ended tonight. And look, let's tip it up and see what we get. I'm interested to see, certainly, as we all are, about how that game goes down. That's pretty much it for tonight. Hope you're having a great night or great day wherever you are around the world when you catch this video. Take care. We will talk to you again in around 48 hours from now as the Brooklyn Nets host the Chicago Bulls. Look, tonight was great. Tonight's Jeremy's best scoring night as a Net. He's playing great. It's unfortunate the team lost, but it's, you can't win every single game, and I guess it's better to lose a road game than a home game. So hopefully we can get back on track against Chicago on Saturday. We'll talk to you